So the question is what to do immediately following a work injury. We did a Jeopardy type thing in a group of workers' compensation attorneys and judges in the Philadelphia area. And one of the questions was essentially what is the most important step of a workers' compensation claim process? And we went through the entire process from the injury all the way to the end of like settlement or decision with the judge. And the overwhelming majority of people voted that the most important step is reporting the work injury. If you don't report the injury, you can never receive workers' compensation. So even though your gut is telling you the most important step after an injury is to go get medical care, legally, the most important step is making sure your employer knows you sustained an injury while working. So there are about three, I would say the top three most important things to do after sustaining a work injury. Obviously, if it's an emergency dire case where it might be an issue of life and death, get yourself to medical treatment, hospital, ambulance, whatever you need. At that point in time, it would be shocking to hear that your employer didn't know if you were in an almost fatal, if not fatal, work injury. But the most important thing in terms of your claim, in terms of the legal aspect, is to report the injury. You have to report the injury to a supervisor. So if that's because you're telling them you're in the ambulance, you're in the hospital, you're telling them you just pulled your back, you need an incident report, you're following up with them via text or email after work saying, hey, I pulled my back today, I hurt my shoulder today. However you do it, reporting the injury the day it happens is extremely important. You also want to follow up with some type of documentation. Let's say you make a verbal report to your supervisor that you had an injury and they don't have you fill out an incident report. You still want to follow up with text or email or something to confirm, hey, blah, blah, blah. Today I spoke to you about hurting my shoulder while I was working. I just want to follow up on that and confirm that we're moving forward with the claim process or whatnot. So then you have documentation that you reported the injury. The next thing is obviously medical treatment. Depending on how serious the situation is, you might need to go get medical treatment immediately. So you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. So you want to go get medical treatment. If that looks like a hospital or an urgent care, your family practice, whatnot. But medical care, obviously, following a work injury is extremely important. And then the last thing is call an attorney. You don't know what you don't know. I have so many clients who call me 8 months down the road, 2 weeks down the road, 3 days later, and they say, I wish I had known what you're telling me. And you don't know what you don't know. You can't know that you should have talked to an attorney. You can't know that you shouldn't have done that. You can't know that you should have done that. But an attorney would know that. So calling an attorney, any personal injury attorney is most likely giving out free consults. So there's no harm. You don't even have to pay to talk to an attorney. So after you get hurt and you take care of reporting the incident and going get your medical care, look for attorneys in your area. And you don't have to limit it to just one. I actually tell people it's better to talk to multiple attorneys so you figure out which attorney is a right fit for you. Because not every firm is a good fit for every injured worker. But you want to talk to attorneys to figure out if you're doing the right thing, you're taking the right step, or if you want to get an attorney on board immediately. So again, the top three things to do after you're injured at work: report the injury, get medical treatment, talk to an attorney.